Alright, hello and welcome. Right now we're just going to showcase my game for Software Engineering 3 GB3, which is called Voxel Dungeon. And it is based on roguelikes, and it's just a 3D version of that. So let's get started with the tutorial. So when you get into here, in the game now there's a tutorial that will teach you how. It gives you tasks to complete that you must complete in order to continue on, and it'll basically teach you the basic mechanics and controlling of this game. So first thing we want to go and do is use WASD to move the character around. There we go. So now we're going to walk over and pick up this sword. We'll press E to pick it up. So now we can press I to go into our inventory. Here we can click on the sword to wield it, it says. Afterwards we'll press I to close it. Now next thing it wants us to go and do is attack a skeleton. Well, there's the skeleton. So there we go. We're going to do some damage. We took a bit of damage. Taking a bit of damage. He's taking more damage. And there we go. So now we move on into the actual game. So in the game it's turn-based. So we have the option to be able to plan out our moves before we go and take them. So as we can see right here, if we move forward, he sees us. And so right here we have a skeleton that has a sword, or a short sword, so we know that he's going to do more damage than we can probably take. So it might be best to go and see what's around us first. So from what it looks like, we're in a room by ourselves, so we're taking a bit of damage, you can see right there, so we'll go and attack him. So you can see we're probably going to take a bit more damage than we'd like to from this fight, and to keep rapidly attacking we just hold down the button towards them and it'll just keep running over the turn. So as we can see here, he dropped his sword. Enemies drop their weapons if they're wielding them, so we'll walk over to that, we'll pick it up, and we'll take an advantage because that will go and give us a +3 modifier for attack and strength, +1 for strength. So that'll help us a lot out with the rest of this level. So right now we're on level 1. There's about 5 levels before the final boss fight. So we're just going to walk through here, see what's over here. So another guy with the short sword. You might have noticed that we do go down in damage and go back up. That's because we do regenerate per turn generally. That was kind of what was happening in this tutorial, where we'd take damage and we wouldn't really get any damage because we would actually regenerate in time. So let's just go and see if this weapon is any better. Nope. So we will just drop it and forget about it. So now we can go and adventure around here. So this guy has a shield, so let's try and take his shield from him. So he's going to be able to block more damage than he'll give, but it just means that it'll take a little bit longer for us to defeat him. And there we go. So now we can grab the shield. We can wield our shield, which then goes and gives us a +4 modifier on defense, as well as a +1 modifier to strength. So we're pretty solid for the rest of this level actually. So let's start going through. So the goal of this is we basically want to get down to the bottom of this dungeon, because where all these enemies are coming from is from Helvetta, and in this dimension we have in this dimension is where they're all coming from, and so we need to close the portal by destroying the 3 portal weavers that are keeping it up. And so what we now need to go and do is we need to just go and find our way down there. But first we'll just go and take these guys. So this guy's actually doing a lot of damage, so I bet this one's more powerful, or he got lucky. Yeah, it looks like he just got lucky. So let's keep on going. Oh, he came out of nowhere. One thing that can be really smart in this game too is, based on the way the enemy AI works, is they only follow you if they see you, and if they don't see you anymore, they will just walk to the last place they remembered you going. So sometimes you can actually outsmart them by moving behind a corner like that. So now he didn't see us when he got to a place he remembered us at, and so he decided to just leave and go do his own thing. So that's a good idea. And right here we can see we have a rather peculiar looking block over here. So what this actually is a spike trap. So if we step on that, it doesn't affect enemies, but it affects us for sure. So let's just defeat this guy. Ooh, so this guy has an axe, which is actually much better. He didn't have much health. This is actually a much more stronger weapon than the short sword. So there we go. So let's go and check. So it gives us more strength, but one less attack. Attack is kind of your accuracy. So we'll switch to that just because of the way that the combat stats actually work is we can hit higher damage with higher attack. So over here, if we step on this, you'll see the spikes come up and we do a fair amount of damage. So you generally want to watch out for those. And so we're going to be a little bit down on health, but let's see how far we can get in the meantime. So we got another guy with an axe here. Let's see who will win this. So as you can see, we did fair amounts of damage there, which is good. It means that we're going to be able to progress well over here. Another guy with an axe. Here we are. You can see the damage feed right about there. There we are. So he's down. So one thing you might notice is that, especially from the last version, that there's lots of new features in the dungeons. Like these, we got these planters and these pots, and there's torches. And the nice thing is that they actually will never block your path, because they are they only will spawn in the rooms one tile away from the walls, so you'll never be able to block your path. So here's actually a bit of a situation where we got to watch out, is we have two enemies that are coming up on us, and they can actually potentially corner us, which they might do here unless we can escape. So let's try and get out of there, and now let's see if we can, yep, there we go. I think we got one of them to ignore us. In fact, we got both of them to ignore us, even better. Oh, and here we go. Look at that, we just found it. It's hidden behind a pot, but right here is the exit. So this is how we get down to the next level. So let's continue. So now we're on floor 2. So on floor 2, there's going to be more enemies. It's a bigger dungeon, there's more enemies, and they're stronger. But that also means they have better weapons too. So we can possibly actually get a good upgrade of our weapons per each floor, which is necessary, especially when we go to fight the final boss, as the final boss is very, very powerful. So as you can see right here already, they're spawning with more stuff and better. So you can kind of see we're taking some hefty damage, but there we go. So let's just go and grab both of his items, and we'll just go and wield them, because they should give us better strength and whatnot. So now here we go. Let's keep adventuring our way through. One thing with this game is it can take a lot of time to adventure the dungeons, but that's kind of half the fun of it, because there's a lot of exploring, and as you can see when you zoom out with the scroll wheel, you're not allowed to see very much of it. You can only see what's in your area, and so there's lots of room to you don't really know where you're coming from, and you can easily get lost in them as well. So here we are. So let's see if we can find something. So there's a spike trap over there. There's another enemy over here. And we got a few corridors that we can go down. And so we got a few more corridors that we can go down. Let's go through this one, see if we can lose him along the way. There we go. Oh, so there's a few guys over here, but one of them's got a shield, one of them doesn't. That guy's got nothing. So we're in a bit of a situation now. We got a lot of them following us. So as we can see right over here, what's actually going to happen is that unless I can get away from them, they can actually corner you. And if they corner you and you walk into a wall enough, now you're forced to fight. So let's go for this guy, because he's the one who's going to be doing more damage. There we go. Oh man, got into another corner there. So we'll just keep going on, see if we can get down to the next level. So yeah, like I was saying, this game can definitely take a while to play, and there we go. So we found the next level, so we can just go and get down there. So now we're on floor 3. Floor 3 is about halfway through the dungeon. As you can see right here, we got greeted by this bony fellow who is doing a lot more damage to us than we're doing to him. And actually, that just goes to show you how much stronger they get as you go down. So just grab his stuff, and we'll just unequip ours, and we'll wield his, and that should give us stronger. Oh, I don't have a shield. There we go. So as you can see, we actually are quite a bit stronger now with his equipment on. So let's go and defeat this guy. So we're taking hefty damage. So let's try and see if we can retreat from him. Maybe he can just chase us around this vase a bit until we regain a bit more health. And just hope that no one else finds our way, and that's not gonna be super effective. Oh, there we go. Found another guy. So taking quite a bit more damage now from both of these guys. Can we lose him? Well, we're not going to lose him. He's following us. So this game being turn-based means that it's all on blocks. And so one thing you might have noticed, especially in the previous version, is that if you rounded up the enemies in a certain way, they could actually walk into each other. And that couldn't be fixed last time due to a small bug in a coroutine, but that has since been fixed, and now we can very much, you can see they kind of don't take an optimal path all the time. Sometimes they'll walk back and forth if they can't get to you, and they, as you can see right there, they walk away from me, but they won't collide anymore, which is good. So here we go. Let's fight this guy, because I think at this point, so as you can see, we're probably going to have, you can see this guy now, he's just walking there. Oh, and we died. So here we are. This will take us to a game over screen, which we can choose play again, and we go back to the main menu. So let's just go back to the main menu for a quick second. Alright, so now we're going to go through, and we're just going to demonstrate how we can get to the end of the game without actually having to play it for the next half hour or so to get to the end. So we're just going to go start a new game, and we're going to go use a feature that is implemented for testing or for people that just don't really have the patience to actually go through a game like this, called God mode. And the way that we get into God mode is we're going to press G rapidly for about 5 times. There has to be about 0.5 second, has to be less than 0.5 second intervals between, so just rapidly hitting it until you see the God mode notification pop up. So we'll just go and do that. So as we can see over here, we have God mode enabled now, and so what this actually allows us to do is we do not take any damage. We also get some commands that we can use. So we actually have a command that is hotkeyed to the key L, which allows us to skip to the next level instantly, as well as K, which allows us to kill enemies that are within about a 2 to 3 block radius of our character. So right here, as you can see, the only person taking damage is the skeleton, not the player. So we can also go and press K, and that'll instantly kill the skeleton. So then we just go pick up his stuff. There we go. Grab that, and off we go. Okay, so now we're on floor 1, so let's just go skip. So I just pressed L there. This will have us skip to floor 2. And so there's about 5 floors that we got to skip through, so we'll just keep skipping. We'll skip again. And we'll skip one more time. And so now this is the final floor, and on this floor the enemies are very powerful and the dungeons are massive, as you can see already. There's a very, very open space, it's very dark and not too friendly. But anyways, we'll go to the final level now. And so the final level is actually the room with the portal. And so here we go, Helveta. And now we are in the final level room, which we can see we have these ominous looking beings, as well as this pool of black with purple particles above it. These are the portal weavers, and so we, as you can see in the top left corner, top right corner, we have 3 of them left. They are what keep the portal alive because they need to maintain the fabric of the connection. And so here they have a very far view range, and so that's why all 3 of them are coming after me now. And so they just kind of float around. You can't even see yourself right now. And so easiest way to win this game is get them all around you like this. You hit K, they all die, and there we go. So now we get our little end animation. And there we go, we've destroyed the portal. And so that's the ending of the game. And so right now we're just in the end screen, we've won, and it'll take us back to the main menu. And so from there, you can actually play through the whole game yourself if you have the time, or you can just go skip ahead with God mode, or you can just adventure around with God mode and just ignore the enemies altogether. Assuming they don't box you in somewhere, in which case you have your kill all, or rather enemy nuke. The last thing I want to talk about is features that were planned to be implemented and that could not be implemented due to constraints of time. This is a very large scope of a game. It is generally the idea with roguelikes is they're kind of a challenge for the programmer. You focus more on the gameplay and the aspects of the game, and you completely ignore graphics. this brings in the whole world of graphics, and so that took up a lot of time to build assets because there was nothing out there that found. I mean, the only assets that I could find online were the floors and the spike traps, and most of the time I actually had to end up remodeling them because they weren't good enough. And so the enemies, the animations, everything else I had to do myself, so that took up a large chunk of time. That's also why there's no sound in the game at the moment. So sound is one of those that would have been implemented, as well as other tons of other little features. Like if we start the game, actually, you can see the framework for a lot of things is in here. There's just no assets or things aren't implemented. Like there's something called items, which is just what generally take up your inventory space. And so from your inventory space, there'd be something like a potion, which you can use to heal yourself, or there'd be power-ups that then you could go and view the duration of the power-up. Another thing I wanted to implement too was actual levels. So your base level could go up with XP as you defeat enemies, which then gives more incentive to fight the enemies rather than just to flee. Because in the game is if you don't fight the enemies to begin with and you don't gradually get better weapons, you're never going to succeed in defeating the final bosses because you have to kill enemies at that point. Whereas for the majority of the game before, you just kind of have to run down to the next level. The other thing is also there is a foot, a body, and a head place, and it's actually implemented. There's just no items that are implemented to go in there. And yeah, I know the model wears a helmet, but I guess we can say that's where his base 3 defense comes from. But so at the moment, I'd want more shields and more weapons actually, and then also to be able to give them different classes, which could actually be generated, but I don't have time for shader programming in the meantime to actually make them look a little bit different. Other things that I wanted to implement as well is more enemies, a larger variation of them, just so that there's more to do. I'd also like to improve the dungeon generation algorithm to be a little bit better. And so that would be, I feel like that would be very beneficial to this game to give, so it could generate better dungeons that, you know, you're less likely to have this happen in, as well as to have less of this where they all just crowd up on you like this, because at the moment how they spawn in is they just spawn in per room, one per room generally, and but that's randomized, so there's a chance it'll spawn in one room, and so it should be fairly distributed, but they do wander around more or less aimlessly. So also I'd want a better navigation. As you can see, these guys are just going to kind of walk back and forth until they can realize that they can't really actually do anything. Yeah, but I guess aside from just that and other small mechanics, this is in essence what the game is supposed to be, and this is how I imagine it going, except I'd probably want to, once again, it all comes down to assets and time, and those are two things that I have neither of. So, well, thank you for watching, and hopefully this has been very informative.